In this video, we're going to talk about C and C++, their backgrounds and their languages. Both are intimately related to each other. In fact, C predates C++. You can't really fully understand C++ without knowing C because to date, you see code that has both language syntax. C++ is backward compatible with C, but C is not forward compatible with C++. So let's look at C first. So C is a language developed by Dennis Ritchie of AT&T Bell Laboratories back in 72, 73. So it's been a while, over 40 years. Dr. Ritchie initially wrote C to write software utilities. These are tool chains for the Linux operating systems to solve its needs. Back in the days prior to 72, 73, people generally use assembly language, this was available in a different clip, by the way. That was pretty hard to write code using assembly because they're too low level. C was one of the first higher level language replacement of choice for assembly at the time. Today, after 40 years, people still write C code. In fact, we use C as a small, portable, efficient language to write software at a lower level, meaning, software drivers or Internet of Things. Some of them still use C because C++ generally has a lot more interactions and complexity, hence slightly slower than C. If you don't need to write stuff in object-oriented way, C is an alternative. C is imperative, procedural. Imperative means you're instructing the computers by issuing statements on exactly what you want it to do. So the software has statement number one, number two. By and large, you can think of pretty much all of the programming languages that we know today. They're made up of statements. These are imperative, as opposed to the declarative programming like SQL, where you basically say, this is what you want. I want to join this table, another table using this key. So the imperative is different than declarative. But C is also procedural, meaning you have function. Procedural basically means function. You can think of this whole C code, right, having a lot of functions. One function calls another function, which calls another function, and sometimes a function calls itself in a recursive way. This is really where C is. Sometimes people call them subroutines. So C is also strongly typed, as in you have to declare a variable, you have to assign a type. So this is a little different than the weakly type programming languages like Python, like JavaScript, where you don't have to specify a type, and the type of your data is inherently referred or implied in some of those languages. C came through several revisions. There is a international standard for C. This is with American National Standards Institute, long for ANSI. NCC has a few specifications. C98, C90, the inclusion of function prototypes, void pointers, and stuff like that. In recent days, we have seen certain revisions that include C++ style comments. And in 2014, I believe there's another version that just came out. This is C. C++ came out roughly less than a decade after the advent of C. Beyond, Strootrup was a PhD student. He was studying procedural languages in C. And also he was looking at object-oriented programming language that was available in a different language called Simula. It was a simulation programming language, but it was very, very slow. So he decided to come up with something. This is object-oriented programming language C, but it's a little different than C, so he made use of C++. As you know, plus plus is a suffix, increment suffix, that increments a variable numerically by another one. So this is kind of the reason why he came up with the naming. That was a very interesting read on how Dr. Strootrup came up with this naming. C++ became very popular very quickly in the 80s. As you know, Microsoft adopted C++. They actually came up with their own Visual C++. It's an alternative to C++. Today, you see C++ in Adobe Photoshop, Illustrators, Firefox, Google Chromes, Safari. So there's a lot of software applications making use of C++. Just like C, C++ has its own international standard. Over time, we've seen C++ 98, which stands for 1998 version of C++. And in 2003, you also have technical report revision, which is the small minor versions of C++. Today, we have seen the advent of C++ 11, 14, 17, 20. Some of these will be too old to use. One thing about C++, it is object-oriented programming language. Moving forward, you will see in the basic learning facilities in C++, there's a lot of very interesting things that you don't see otherwise in C. The notion of C++ object, classes, inheritance, protected, and also virtual table, virtual functions. These are concepts that you only see in the object-oriented programming language, but you don't in procedural languages like C. Moving forward in this course, we're going to talk about pretty much all of these. These are very specific to C++, so we're going to dive relatively deep into, and also the use of pointers and difference between pointers and references with respect to the memory management. Later on, we're going to look at some of the I/O, the strings, the standard library that are provided to us to solve some problems. So this is what we are going to expect in this course.